comes to the TV show Terminator Zero, I'm going to be 100% honest and say I was surprised at how good this show was. Firstly, I was just really intrigued by the plot, as instead of it being set in the US, it's set in Japan, making it feel very new, but at the same time following that similar formula that Terminator always has, that being one person has been sent back in time to protect someone, and one person has been sent back in time to kill. And I enjoy that they still use that same formula, but it still feels new and inventive. Also, the secondary plot, which I really loved, was seeing the character Malcolm, who has created this AI as a way to battle Skynet. And it's just fascinating to see how he is pleading with this AI, Kokoro, hoping to save humanity, and he has to justify why humanity deserves to be saved. And it's quite an intriguing conversation we see throughout these episodes, as both make great points, one onto why save humanity and one to why does humanity deserve this justice when all that humanity has created is chaos. Very fascinating. When it comes to the characters, I feel like they were developed so immensely well. We're learning so much details about a character through barely an episode. Characters like Malcolm and Aiko were the most fascinating and developed characters, but even characters like Misaki, for example, were still fascinating to watch and learn about. The main hooking point for me was its violence. Even from the trailers alone, I knew it was going to be a bloodfest, and boy was it. It was quite shocking to a point, very grotesque to watch at times, but that's what I really am glad to see from this franchise, going back to what originally hooked a lot of people like myself with Terminator 1 and Terminator 2. Now, what I really love is that they make the Terminators very scary. Now, from the first two films, we do get that vibe, but this takes it to a whole new level, very horror-esque, and we as an audience member fear for the characters who are having to deal with this Terminator, as they are very relentless, manipulative, and will stop at nothing to get their job done. And if that means killing so many people, then they're willing to do it, and it's so brutal and scary at the same time. And that's what's really cool about the show, is it has that horror-esque vibe, not only from seeing robots being corrupted and how they take arms and begin a manslaughter of effect, but also the atmosphere as well of imagine walking a simple road and being spotted by a robot. There's fear, the terror you would have as well. They developed that fear, that horror vibe amazingly well. Now, the animation was beautiful to look at, not only from the colour schemes, but also the camera angles. You can really tell there was a lot of creative input onto this show. It wasn't just a simple cash grab. They really wanted to capture the audience's eye for the best part of the show. Now, this is a small thing I enjoyed, but I really like all the references they have and Easter eggs towards the other films from the Terminator franchise. Now, the most obvious one is the setting, as it is set in 1997, where Terminator 2 is also set, and it's set around that whole Judgment Day, but obviously because it's in Japan, you got the difference in time and so forth. But then there's so many other Easter eggs and references to the films, some as very obvious and some very hidden that you'd have to watch again and again or be a really big fan of the Terminator franchise to really understand. And I just love that they add such little details like that into this TV show. And lastly, what I really enjoyed is we as an audience member have so many questions with particular characters, and some are easy to guess. I will be honest and say there's a bit of predictability with some of these characters, but at the same time I, as an audience member, was shocked with some of the surprises this show threw at us, which I really did love. And when it comes to the last episode, I will be honest and say I found it fascinating. Firstly, they leave it somewhat open-ended. There's a glimpse of hopefulness, which I feel like they have purposefully left in, that could be taken away depending on if the creators are allowed to continue this show, but it's also left there if this is just a one-off, which I still love. But apart from that, I love the surprises we get, which is still great to see, but I also love the violence we get, especially on the last episode of all things. Now when it comes to criticisms, I'll be 100% honest, I only have one, and that is, I just don't believe that a robot, a Terminator, would have such stormtrooper-like aim, even with a minigun of all weapons. Now I know these are created by humans, so that is a bit flawed in the design, but even that I just can't believe. Overall though, I really enjoyed that they took a new and inventive way with this franchise, something that hasn't really been done since Terminator 2. And it really has worked. It feels new. I feel like the steps that they've taken to this franchise, while still following the formula, does feel great, new and inventive. I think it's something I can't wait to see more of. With all that being said, is this good? No, it's great. Rating wise, it's a simple 8 out of 10. Now when it comes to would I rewatch it, 100% I would. As again, like I've said, it feels fresh, it feels new, and whilst still following that formula, it's still gravitating. There's so many twists that I was not expecting as an audience member, and it's something I want to see more of, and I hope we do. Now when it comes to recommendations, I think the first two Terminator films are the best Terminator films. I think I'm not alone in that argument. But at the same time, I do have a soft spot for Terminator 3. As I was a child when I watched it, I still enjoy it. But at the same time, I understand its flaws. I know it's not great, but it's still a nice addition to the franchise. It's not terrible, but it's not great. But moving away from that, Terminator franchise isn't all bad. I would say Terminator Sarah Connor Chronicles, again like this show, took a very new and inventive idea, except they're following John and Sarah Connor, and it's really intriguing to follow these characters and going a bit different to what we have seen in the films. It's only a shame that the show didn't get enough breathing time, so to speak. And then moving away from Terminator and just onto recommendations in general is the Resident Evil animated movies. Any one of them I think is amazing to watch. They're taking liberties with certain characters, expanding the franchise, and really exploring the horror-esque environment that the games created. And then lastly, just from an anime perspective recommendation, Blue-Eyed Samurai. As like this show, they are both filled to the brim with violence, great character development, and just really intriguing stories. Those are my recommendations. This has been my review for the TV show Terminator Zero. Thank you for watching. If you have enjoyed, please like and subscribe, but most importantly, thank you and have a nice day.